each and everyone, and welcome again in this new year to another Soul Vibes. And so we've lived through the holidays, through the Christmas, through the celebrations of the new year, and I wish to wish each and everyone a happy new year 2026. We're almost, yeah, well, we are halfway through already, but still, there are a number of you that we haven't actually met in this way in this year yet. And so, welcome to the Soul Vibes. My name is Alexis Sersha. To all the ones that are new, you are welcome also. And for those, whether you're watching now and for those that perhaps will watch later, you are also very much present here in the space that we co-create together. And so here we are at the round table. And so for those that are new, I normally talk about round table because if you feel into it, we are seated, all of us are seated at the round table, not any square table where I'm not, even though you see me on, I'm the one talking, I'm the one doing the transmission, organizing the webinar and stuff, and yet all of us are sitting at the round table. There is no like in the theater, there's no higher stand for me or for anyone else. And then the audience, it's not like this. We're kind of all sitting at an energetic round table, at the etheric round table, and we're all co-creating, participating in this transmission. And so let us come into this space. Bring your attention here, bring your presence here into this space. Wherever you are, this when I say this space, it is the space where you are, where you're sitting. Perhaps you're lying down on a sofa. Perhaps you're inside, outside, depending on the weather, depending on which part of the globe you are. For we are an international audience. We span across the hemispheres. For some of us, it is evening, for some of us is daytime, and all different times in between. And so we find ourselves, each one, in our own space. Wherever you are, notice yourself there. Notice your body there. Notice your presence in your body. Notice yourself inhabiting yourself, being at ease with yourself. Just as you are, wherever you are. And let go of all of those thoughts that would actually say differently, that are keep inviting you to think differently. What I mean by that is to not accept yourself, who would invite you to be critical of yourself, to put yourself down. Notice those thoughts. And know that you are not those thoughts. There's just something that flows through. Let it flow through. Let all of those thoughts flow through. Don't let them linger within your space. And especially don't identify with them, meaning don't make them true for yourself. They're just thoughts. And if you just let them go, let them flow, not fight against them, not pretend that you don't get or hear or notice those thoughts. Just simply notice them. They're like clouds floating by. And you can giggle at them, you can laugh at them, and you can just be okay and not notice them even anymore. You get to that place where you don't even notice those kind of thoughts anymore. For those kind of thoughts, they are yours only if you own them, if you accept them, if you claim them, just like any other thoughts. But they're very much around in the spaces of humanity, in the spaces of mass consciousness. They're very much present. There's a lot of heaviness present in the human space. In this 2026, it's only going to accelerate things that have already been happening. And so that's why we are emphasizing coming into your space over and over, noticing that space, feeling deeper into your space, into that safe space, and feeling into being at home in who you are as you are. And when you feel when you feel yourself just being you, what does that mean, just being you? Meaning that there is some kind of steadiness there within you. There is this kind of peace, not that it's nothing happening, because you as a soul are incredibly dynamic. But yet, when you allow yourself just to be, to take that time for yourself just to be, you notice that this being is really just lack of any fighting with yourself, fighting with the world, fighting with what should be, what shouldn't be, what is. You let all of those things go and you just are. You just are. And there's this incredible peace and incredible joy and incredible satisfaction that happens when you allow yourself to just be in yourself, to just be. And you know that this is very rare in this world, in this crazy world, to just be, because you're told that you're supposed to, and these are the energies that are, it's not like even in words that these are told, but at the moment, in these moments, in these months, in this new year, there is so much pressure. There is pressure in the energies. They're precious to conform. They're precious to, there are these pressures that have these inherently in them, these things that say you're not good enough, you're not enough, you're not doing enough, you're not powerful, you're powerless. I'm just as I'm talking, I'm just sensing this mass consciousness into what it is whispering, what it is saying. These precious are saying, you need tools, you need to pick up your act, you need to try harder, you need to run faster, you need to do more, you need to go, you need to have goals, you need to be useful. And still, this mass consciousness says, and still you're not enough. You're just a tiny being, tiny person. And out there's these big powers. And you have no choice but to submit. You have no choice but to keep taking, accepting, whether you like it or not, what they're giving out to you, what they're dishing out, what they're choosing on behalf of humanity. So this is what these pressures are saying. And these energies, these pressures have a very defined schedule in a sense. They are, when you see them, they're very predictable. And when you see the patterns, you can kind of know what is going to happen next, not from a sense of that you have to be prophetic or as what we talk about as being psychic or something like that. But when you actually step out and you look at these systems, these pressures, this voice and so-called voices that whisper to you in the energy of the collective, they are very, in many ways, predictable. They're large scale. They're huge across the world now. They're not localized. And they feel immense, they feel huge. And so it is easy to feel small. It is easy to feel like there's no hope. It is easy to want to just submit. It feels easy in all of this confusion, in all of this in this chaos of so much happening, it is easy just to give up and to give in and to let it all go in a sense, as in feeling powerless. And yet, from a soul, from a being who's conscious, who has allowed their soul, who is allowing their soul, there is also, of course, this part where you let go. But it is a very different letting go, for you're not letting go and collapsing into nothingness, into being small. You're actually letting go and sinking into yourself, into that connection with a part of yourself that is eternal, that is that is limitless, that does not play with power or powerlessness. For in its beingness, there's no such things really. For what does power and powerless mean when you're eternal, when you just are, when everything is available to you, and are meaningless. And yet, so there can be this for many people, especially those just awakening, there can be this confusion as to how do you bring these two together. Not only can there be confusion where you mistaken the upside down world of the crazy world of the collective, because it mimics the realness of the soul. But the realness of yourself, the realness of your soul, the realness of your consciousness, there are no shortcuts to that. So to feel that, to keep having that channel open for yourself so that you can keep allowing your consciousness, your light of consciousness, to be more and more present in your life. And not just from a sense of being more and more present as if there's some kind of goal or some kind of percentage, but just simply to be you, who you are, to be you as a consciousness. And in these times where there's so much going on, there's such pressures, you cannot, we cannot allow ourselves to not be present, to not be solid in our own space, to not be solid in our own soul, to not keep being open to its flow, to open in a sense of feeling vulnerable, feeling open and exposed in a good way to your soul, so that those channels are open all the time. You see, so when there's this pressure coming from mass consciousness, and it's trying to make you feel unsafe, trying to make you feel all of those things that would normally close you down, clamp you down. They're trying to squeeze you into feeling small, into feeling in this way impotent, not being able to act for your own best interest out of this powerlessness. This is where, it is, we can automatically then close down on the inside, shrink on the inside, but actually the opposite is really needed. When you feel yourself squeezed, when you feel yourself doubting, when you feel yourself not good with yourself, because of what is you sense around you, what you see around you, what around in people, in the systems, and in all this uncertainty. That's when you actually come back to yourself, allow yourself to feel safe, allow yourself to breathe in, allow yourself to expand, even though it may feel, for some very counterintuitive to do that, because it kind of feels like, oh, I'm exposing myself even more to these energies. But they actually don't exist in the same space, um, so to speak. This the safety, the the inner sovereign space of yourself does not exist in, it's not exactly in the same realm as this pressure that is coming to you. And so when you really feel into your safe space, you can realize that regardless of what is going on around in the physical world with other people, that you actually, the safe space is absolutely safe. Your own soul safe space does not exist in the same realm. So, so it is always safe, or perhaps rather, it is invisible to those harsh energies. And so when it permeates, when it expands, it is not affected at all. Part of you that exists, that if you feel yourself existing in that breath in and out, you can sort of, your presence sort of goes through that space as invisible to that pressure energy, to the unsafety that the world brings to you. Try it, like when you feel yourself clenched, or you feel yourself in anxiety, because anxiety and not being able to breathe is so present now among people. And so it is very strongly present also in the sense, in the mass consciousness field. And so the only way really to counterbalance that, not in a sense of fighting against, but to just be okay and in your peace and in your presence and in your joy, is to breathe regardless of anything else. And I find that this year already, the last couple of weeks, it's been especially true of that. It's been true. It's not an easy time, like for me, it hasn't been easy because the pressures are so big, so strong. There are so much going on, not only with what is being revealed, what is playing out in the world, but also just with these facts of, having another intelligence here, and what these big organizations are trying to do with more surveillance, with more loss of privacy, with perhaps people fearing loss of jobs, with all of the increases of prices, and there's just so much going on, and even as we speak, as I speak these words, notice how it could possibly be an automatic thing, a habit, to just go into and contract. And yet here we are allowing ourselves to keep expanding, to keep, without any even trying, but meaning to keep being in our own peace, to keep sinking deeply into ourselves, to keep touching that joy, to keep touching that part that where everything is possible, that part that says the future is incredible, it's beautiful, it's peaceful, it's vivid, it's full of color, it's full of creativity. And that not only the future, but now it is also like that in this world such so full of change. That your pocket of wonder, your pocket of beauty, your your community, your group of people, your little tribe is is where there's heart, where there's beauty, where there's friendliness, friendships, joy. And so these are the things that like that this pressure keeps pressuring to try to eliminate, and yet it can't because they don't live in the same space. And so it keeps pressuring and pressuring, and people will feel it. People that are not connected, they feel there's so many things that is happening this year, even more in a more intense way. As I said, all the mental health issues, the loneliness, the disconnection, all sorts of things that people are feeling, despite there being all these, social media and the world's the most connected, and yet the world is also feeling itself in this way, very, very disconnected. And another thing that I find that I've had to become very, very um, perceptive about is the different realms, where I am, where I find myself. Let's say as I'm going through my day and just puttering around the place and, maintaining, doing all sorts of daily things and just enjoying that, and in being physical, being present, enjoying the physicality of that, of just very ordinary things, so that my place, my home is joyful, a place of sanctuary. So that's one realm, because I can feel myself. Let's say if we sort of try now, let's say feel yourself. That's when you feel yourself in your body, present. I feel my fingers. I feel my eyes. I can feel what my eyes, I can see what my eyes see. I'm with that. I'm present with my eyes as they're seeing. I'm present with my ears as they're hearing. I'm present with my sense of touch, with my hands as they're feeling, sensing. I'm present perhaps of the temperature, of the noises, of the voices, the sounds in my surrounding. I'm present with the scents that are in the air. So this is very much a physical realm. And this is a very beautiful sensual realm. And each one of us have been encouraged over the years to make this realm, to make a space for yourself, your own space, your own home, perhaps your own room, where you feel at home, where you can allow yourself to just feel safe, feel like you're the owner of that space, where you can retreat to recuperate, to just be, to feel, to be quiet, to do whatever that you wish to do, nothing at all perhaps. And then of course there is a deeper space of yourself, where perhaps that in that space where you can feel yourself sinking into yourself, and you start feeling that more etheric realm, where you and your soul touch it, and you communicate, and from where you then unfold as a human being, you unfold. Like whatever the soul communicates gives you those packets of information. Okay, let's experience this. And then that packet then starts unfolding. That's how I experience this. So this is another realm, really, all part of the wholeness. But it is important because it's important, I think, to distinguish between them, because then you can actually, in this way, manage where you are, manage your awareness, manage your seat of power, so to speak. Are you sitting in that space where you and your soul touch, to be nourished, to be held, to be honored, to be loved, to be to be safe? And then, of course, that can spill over into the physical body. And you can feel how that all of those that kind of bubbles out into the physicalness of your world. And then the awareness kind of shifts a little bit. And all of a sudden, let's say I become very much more aware of my physical senses and body and hands and my physical environment. So these are two realms. They very intimately interact and connect, but I can myself feel very accurately when my consciousness is more present in that etheric soul realm, or when I then turn outward, so to speak, into the physical realm. And then, of course, there are other realms, like I said. There is this mass consciousness realm where all of those crazy world upside down things exist, and it's very much part and is permeating everything. But there is a very different, very defined barrier. I notice it when, let's say, if I'm in my soul space, and then I step into this mass consciousness world realm. It's this is what being multidimensional means. We've been talking about it, but this, and then we've practiced it, we've experienced it, and this year it's really important to be master of it, so that you can manage yourself in what is going on. And so, as I said, this realm of mass consciousness, where all of these pressures are, where the lies live, the hierarchies, power, all of these things live. They have extreme, very strong gravity. They're very also, of course, they're very addictive. They pull you in, they suck you in, because they also affect your body. See, when you're, let's say, if you're sitting in your realm, in your space with your soul, that affects your body. And you feel calm, you feel in harmony with your body, you feel at home with your body. If you then step into this mass consciousness realm, which is now so strong, so intense, and you're not also at the same time sitting in your realm of your soul, in the seat of your soul, then you can get swept away. You can get pulled in. You can get, it sweeps you, and all of a sudden you're lost in this craziness of this energies of this realm. Then, of course, another realm which is gone like next levels is, of course, the internet realm, the tech. Okay, so that's not the only place where tech is, but there is a definite realm that we step into, that when you are engaging with, let's say, internet or your phone, your PC, your Apple notebooks, and all sorts of these devices. And this realm is much more now, not only that when you're sitting in front of the screen, but this realm is also has made headway into the physical realm. So for example, you used to have to do much more defined steps to engage with this particular realm. So you would have to, let's say, pick up your phone, look at it, scroll, or you would have to sit in front of a computer, or to be pulled into it, or you would have to, for example, do any of these kind of things. So they were defined steps, and then you could actually definitely, switch off the computer, turn off this, turn off that, and be out of that realm. But now this particular realm as actually very much encouraging onto the physical, where it doesn't matter whether you've switched off your devices or whatever. There are certain things it kind of, with its voice, with its listening, with its recording, with all of these things. For example, even in a car, you've got a screen. It continually is interacting with you without you being able to definitely switch off and step away, step out of it. Because its energy is felt, for example, even when you don't realize, for example, or don't see it. Like, let's say, you have all of the different microwaves and all sorts of different waves. And even, for example, let's say if an electronic device is listening to you, and this has been around for quite a long time, but it's been not very intelligent. Now that its intelligence has gone up so much. So even, let's say, if it's listening to you, this is the energy of it is interacting with you, even though perhaps you don't realize it. Like, you can't, there's nothing with your eyes to see, and yet the interaction is there. And so it is very important. So there are a number of different ways now that we are constantly in the internet realm. Because, for example, for those that don't particularly don't resonate with this, let's say it is that, when, let's say, if you sit in front of your phone or tablet or whatever, notebook or whatever, and you forget, you're just in it, and you're watching a movie on it, scrolling or playing a game or something. You forget all the rest because you got pulled into this realm. So you forgot the physicalness of yourself. You've kind of almost like stepped out of your body. So you're kind of in this realm that is not physical, nor is it a soul realm, an etheric realm. It's definitely its own realm. And it's not that it's all bad, because tech, it's an Aquarian age, we're part of this. But this realm can actually pull you in completely, and for many, many hours. And for a lot of people, it's every day. And then you can become very engaged in all of the drama that is happening in that space. Whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's all of these news and things and stuff like that you can actually be actively engaged with, while at the same time, when you're right in that, you're not really present in your physical body, and you're not really present in your etheric soul body. It's not that the soul is not the separate, soul is not separate, nor is it separate from the physical body, but there are definite intensities of presence, or where you can actually communicate clearly. That's what I find. When my human self can communicate clearly with my soul, it is in that etheric space that I know how to instantly focus on in myself, because I practiced. That's pretty much it. Um, so when you get pulled now into this uh, internet space, which is its own realm, it can be hard to pull yourself out, or you leave part of it there. And now with this intelligence, it is more and more coming into encroaching into the physicalness. And I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing. What I'm saying is that I've noticed that I have to keep that my presence, my ability to be present, has had to go up a notch. That I have to really practice being present, because I can be otherwise pulled into all of these things without, as a unwilling participant, perhaps, or as a, like, all of a sudden I find myself and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I haven't wanted to go there, and yet I find myself there. And I realize, wow, how long have I spent here? You see, so this is what it's you can become unconscious. And we're not about being unconscious, we're being about more and more conscious. So when something pulls you and you forget, you see, there are two different ways of forgetting yourself. When you are completely yourself, when you are at peace with yourself, enjoy with yourself, at home with yourself, you're not really conscious. Is that where everything else drops away? There's this beautiful equilibrium. It's like, the lake that is completely peaceful. That's what it feels like when you're not in any drama or any fight with yourself. So that's the real thing. The unconscious. So in this way, you can say, well, I'm a bit unconscious in that way, because you're so good and at home with yourself that you become unaware of it. You're so aligned with yourself that you're not aware of anything outside of yourself. And that's a healthy, joyful place. But when you get pulled into these realms that are now, so strong and so intense, that are not your soul, of your soul in this sense, then you just become again unconscious, and you're not sovereign, you're not you choosing, you're not uh, you're not in your own sovereign space, and you forget yourself again. So there is nothing wrong with any. And like, one can go into some mountain and live in a cave. It's not possible, really. We are part of this world as it is, and this world is now asking our people that have put soul, this coming home with soul as first. It's asking us to, yeah, go next levels. Peaceful warrior, all of these practices in this sense, because otherwise it is just so easy to be pulled. And when we keep getting pulled with this, it's not like something wrong with it in a way that, oh, you shouldn't be doing it. The problem is that then, if you keep getting pulled into it without being conscious, you find yourself that you just drop, your radiance drops, your energies drops, your health drops. And if you just go week by week, you can just easily find yourself limited, contracted, all of a sudden started feeling fear, and all of these things. You see, that's why it is very, very important to be conscious. So when you go into these spaces, go first, come home be at home with yourself, inside yourself, and then consciously engage with these things, because then you are allowing your radiance to be there with you. And then you bring, so to speak, your joy with you into that realm, and your presence, and your self-love, and your being well. And then you can travel in all of this for a while, not for a long time. You do need rest, but you can travel in the craziness of the mass consciousness of the collective, and you can feel it, and you can let it flow, and you can travel the wondrous world of the internet and tech and all of these things. But you're actually doing it then consciously, and then you know when to step away. You know when to sort of, okay, yep, now I've but my bubbles are done, the overflowing bubbles. And now I have to come back and refill my cup, because my cup is no longer overflowing. The bubbles are not overflowing. I have to come back home and fill my cup, home in myself, fill my cup until it starts to overflow again. And in that's how you keep yourself safe, well, aware of what's going on, because you are then being this light of consciousness. And then so then you see everything with with a light on. Not, it's not a darkness where you would just, be lost, or be able to be drawn into things that you don't want to be drawn in. And so, yeah, this soul vibes is really very much, yes, we are in incredible times, exciting times. Like, to think, like, even, a few years ago, uh, and they've gone so quickly, um, where we were the only, let's say, intelligence on this earth. Now there's quite a few. And yeah, it's a very, very different world that we now find ourselves in. And there are such strong currents that may make decisions on behalf of humanity for quite a few years to come. And so it is very, very important to have our lights on, each one of us, to, meaning just simply just to spend that time with you and your soul, radiate to yourself, feel self-love, feel acceptance, feel kindness, and then don't close that door. Just be that kindness, and be that openness, and be mm, that presence, that radiance with everything that you engage. And at the same time, also, I find that as I engage with the world, it is also very, very important to, how shall I say, um, to sort of deal, to be able to turn my volume on and off. Not off, but low. What I mean by that is that, if I go into the collective, I go among the people that are unawakened, and therefore they have all of the very unhealthy energies. They're hungry, they are starving for love, for all of these things. So if I just go out without mm, turning my volume a little bit down, to, I call it to smallerize myself, to sort of, okay, I hang out in all of these vastnesses of realms and all of that when I'm in my own space. And then, okay, now I'm going to the shop or going to the job or whatever. Okay, so I smallerize myself so that I'm not, my energy, the radiance is not so fast, but it kind of is just much smaller. And then I find that other people can not only handle it better because it's not perhaps overwhelming, or I'm not sure exactly what they feel, but also I'm not leaving myself open to, to this incredible attacks, in a way that people that are incredibly wanting this, and yet they haven't done the work, they will just go for it. Their energy just goes for, let's say, my solar plexus or something. And for me, it then feels like someone's cut into it with a knife or something like that, because it kind of, their energy tries to unbalance me so that they can actually get there, so that they can, feed energetically. So, but when I smallerize myself, it just creates this kind of beautiful, like a mantle, like a peaceful warrior mantle, or maybe a ninja mantle. I don't know, like a protective, that actually just keeps me whole, and that gives me then the ability to sort of be very present and very focused in saying energetically what yes, no, to keeping my boundaries safe, to keeping my boundaries porous, but not open. And because, yeah, this was another thing that I wanted to sort of mention today, is that I've noticed, that we've, as in spiritual communities, in the past, there's been this we've expanded over the globe. We've expanded our kindness. We've sent love and light and all of these things. But now, in these intense times, I find that really it's staying in my own space. That as humans, we don't really have unlimited things to give, unlimited care to give. We can't actually, we're not built in a sense that we can just care for every single thing that the TV, that um, all of these news bring us as to what is happening in the world. That we have to come, not because we're not caring, but we just, it's not, it's like pretending that we have four arms when we only have two. It's just practically looking at it. And so just to bring your care and to care really to those that you love, to those that are close, to your friends, to the people within your circle. And that is enough for now. Like there is nothing more that is needed. I know there are many people out there still saying, oh, send light here, send light there. Yeah, let them, it's if that's what they feel like, let them. But I feel that to really not stretch myself too thin, I've had to really come back and say, okay, this is not the issue that I want to add. This is the issue. These are the things that I want to add my radiance to, or, sort of fill with my own radiance, not to bring about some results, but just to shine the light. And I find that if I try to stretch it all everywhere, that yeah, I can't do that for a long time in a healthy way. So basically, it's come to this real. We're forced as not only us as spiritual, people that are in spiritual communities, but I think every person is really, with all of the stuff that is happening, we are kind of really forced into to really care and mind our own stuff in this sense, that we have to look after our own well-being, that we have to look after our own health, that we have to look after, yeah, our well-being in all the different ways that entails. And at the same time, then yes, also to, perhaps if there is a wish to participate in these larger questions and whatever else is happening, but it has to really be depending on how well we are. So if you find yourself that you're stretching yourself too thin, that is your answer, that you're stretching, that you've stretched yourself too thin, and that you have to pull back into something from whatever that you've overstretched yourself. And so the measurements really are not some kind of books or rules or steps or anything like that, but it is just your own experience and your own wisdom, your body telling you if you're stretching yourself too far, your well-being. Do you feel overtired? Do you feel unwell, and all of that kind of stuff? That tells you, okay, I'm stretching myself. So if I'm into this issue and that issue and that issue, I have to really then choose and let go of some and then come back to being, just doing what I can. That's pretty much it. If you wish to do, just doing what I can. And so this is really the choices are really in this personal, on this personal level. How do you feel? How does it feel? How do I feel? Am I well? When I'm engaging in all sorts of things, am I not well? Do I have to pull back? There's this that's pretty much it. And with this collective sort of trying to engage emotions and frustration and powerlessness and all of these kind of things is just so trying to constantly invoke this, so don't don't erode. You can't let your well-being be eroded by it, and so that's where the practices are very important. These practices of coming home to yourself, refilling yourself from your own inner well, being well, feeling joyful, and go feeling, stepping into that beautiful space of creativity, of all of these things. Because the this is another thing also. There's such a strong pressure to let go of your humanness, your own creativity, your own agency, your own we're asked to give in to, or to give in and to give away our thinking, our feeling, our sense of what it means to be well, our sense of choosing, making up mind, organizing ourselves. Like, you can give away all of this agency to external forces, not or devices, tech, and then that will actually and then pay for it. Instead of, when I know my own well-being. Do I feel good? I don't need to carry a device that records everything about my body functions, or like, do you need this kind of things? You have to ask yourself, am I giving away all of the abilities that I naturally have to an external authority, so that they can be extracted, and that I can then depend on someone else to decide on the levels that have never been done before for me, on behalf of me, rather than me deciding. So, we're asked to, as people in general, to give up mm, agency, sovereignty, all of these things to this nameless corporations, organizations, and all of this. So, claim these back. And even, for me, I've even let go of certain things, and I love tech, but there's such a fine line between me mm, availing myself of tech to help me be more creative, more me, more sovereign, more of this. The end between me using tech, which actually comes into tech using me to extract from me, on behalf of these big companies and whatever. And so it requires a lot of discernment, and making mistakes and learning and all of these things. But yeah, we're in the next level practice, in the next level space. And it is at the same time exciting, but it is also a place where it is very easy to lose oneself in all of this that is going on, in all of this that we feel, especially for us, which who are more sensitive to all of these things, like we can feel everything that is going on so acutely. And so, this presence of our unconsciousness, the presence of a soul, is very, very important, so that we can navigate all of these realms, these times with finesse, with joy, and with this constant expansion, and to be engaging with all these possibilities that are now here. Okay, so I think, yes, we've come to the end. Dear friends, it's been a joy, and Happy New Year again, if I haven't, to all those that I haven't said that before. And I will post tomorrow, I will upload this video to the website tomorrow and I will send you the link, as it is quite a bit late here in Australia, in the location where I am at. But again, thank you for participating. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. And until next time, namaste.